Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Today we're going to do a bunch of little short stories, and these are ghost stories. They're mysteries that haven't been solved yet. I mean, they're just a whole bunch of really interesting short tales, and I mean they are very, very short, so I'm going to go through quite a few of them. And I got this idea through my mom. My mom had come across this website and started jotting down all of these stories that she thought was interesting. So she gave me the stories and then gave me the website name so I could look at more if I needed more for a video, or I thought other stories were interesting as well that I wanted to talk about. So that is how I came up with this idea. It's through my mom, so thank you, Mom, for the idea. That was awesome. I do want to add that if you hear a story that you want me to kind of dive deeper into and do a full Friday video on, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to do that. We're going to jump right in, and the first story I'm going to tell you guys about is the Brasher Dye disappearance. This is a story from Alabama. So this story originates in Alabama, and the Dye brothers, Billy, Howard, and Robert, disappeared in 1956 along with their cousin Dan Brasher. They were last seen leaving a relative's house in rural Jefferson County in a 1947 green Ford. But no one even noticed they were missing because they were known to be heavy drinkers and often disappeared for days after sleeping off a binge. When a missing persons report was filed, investigators' questions were met with silence or tall tales, for example, of a bulldozer burying a car under a highway. The case remains unsolved. Crazy. So they never found these three gentlemen whatsoever. They just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. So in Colorado, there is this area called the Black Forest. A family moved to Colorado Springs, just on the border of this Black Forest, or in the Black Forest area. And that is when, according to them, all hell broke loose. According to them, there were flashing lights, footsteps, orchestra music, strange smells, and even sightings of ghostly faces. This family, who still lives in this home to this day, still report all of this crazy phenomena, like it never stopped happening. No one can explain what it is, although a shaman who was asked or called in to help this family claims the house is located on a rip in the space-time continuum, where spirits can move freely between the worlds. Moving along to Connecticut. So in 2012, Hurricane Sandy ripped through this town, and one of the trees that fell, it was found entangled in the roots of this tree, a human skull. And this human skull dated back 200 years. An archaeological dig followed, yielding more body fragments as well as coffin nails. It is suspected that there are 5,000 bodies buried in this area in Connecticut. And it looks like these bodies might have been dragged out in the middle of the night, wrapped in a sheet, and buried in shallow, unmarked graves. So they think, or one of the theories is that it was people who died during an epidemic, like a terrible epidemic, like yellow fever or something like that. Although no one knows for sure if that is the case or not. In Florida, there is the story of the spontaneous combustion of Mary Reeser. In July of 1951, authorities found the body of 67-year-old Mary Reeser in her St. Petersburg apartment. Or more accurately, a pile of mostly ash that once was Mary Reeser's body. Part of her lower leg and some of her spine remained. Apparently, her body had been almost entirely cremated which is mind-boggling when you consider when you cremate somebody, it takes hours in a 3,000 degree oven to burn their bodies down to ashes. Even more bizarre, only Reeser's body had been burned. The rest of her apartment was intact. Even a pile of newspapers beside her body was still completely intact. In Georgia, there's a house that is referred to as the Bleeding House. One night in 1987, Minnie Winston saw blood on the floor of her Atlanta house. Terrified, she ran to find her husband. He was, of course, completely fine. But there was more blood everywhere. On the walls, oozing from the floor, sweeping up from the under kitchen appliances. She and her husband called the police, who found no evidence of a break-in. What they were able to conclude was that the blood came from a living human, although no one has ever figured out where or whom the blood came from. In Indiana, there was the mysterious fire poltergeist. In 1941, a farmer in Odin had breakfast with his family and then headed out to his barn to begin his daily chores. Then he noticed smoke coming out of the upstairs window in his house. He ran back and with the help of a volunteer fire department put out the fire in the upstairs bedroom, only to have another fire break out in another random room of the home. All day long, as soon as they would put out one fire, another fire began, totaling a total of 28 fires. Believing his house to be haunted by poltergeists, the farmer tore it down and built a new one. The cause of the fires have never been determined. Isn't that crazy? He thought his home was possessed by poltergeists, so he ended up tearing the home down and building a new one. And the source of these fires that happened were never determined. Moving along to the Kentucky meat shower. Yes, not meteor, meat shower. So one day in 1876, over a farm in Kentucky, the sky rained down meat chunks. And they couldn't figure out what type of meat this was. The only explanation anyone has ever been able to offer is that the meat was the prey of vultures who had gorged themselves and then vomited while flying overhead. Okay, moving along. In Massachusetts, there is something called the Black Flash of Provincetown. From 1939 to 1945, the people of Provincetown were terrorized by a being called Black Flash. The figure first appeared to a group of children, tall, dressed in black, and growling at them. In 1945, a group of policemen actually reported seeing the figure leap a 10-foot fence. So in Michigan, and I have actually heard of this as well, there is something called the Paulding Light. In 1966, a group of teens reported having seen a mysterious light above a valley in Paulding, Michigan. Scientific explanations such as swamp gas have been rejected in favor of the more popular paranormal theory, and that theory involves a death of a brakeman who was killed while attempting to stop an oncoming train. Ooh, this look is looking all kinds of strange right now, isn't it? I have an idea in mind, I promise, so it's gonna look a little crazy for a little while. Michigan Tech students believe it's a phenomenon created by headlights from a nearby road, but the mystery remains officially unsolved. Moving along to Minnesota and the frozen girl defrosted. In 1981, Jean Hillard's car went off the road near Langby, and the next day her frozen body was discovered. Her eyes were wide open, her flesh frozen so solid that the doctors couldn't pierce it with a hypodermic needle. Her body temperature was too low to register on a thermometer. But when Hillard thawed, she was very much alive and made a full recovery. Isn't that totally bizarre? So in Nebraska, there is something called the Lucky 15. In March of 1950, 15 members of the Beatrice West Side Baptist Church were supposed to meet for practice. All 15 were known for their timeliness. So on this particular day, all 15 of them were running late. The reasons varied, but not a single one was present when a natural gas leak caused the complete destruction of the church. So the question was, how and why were every single one of these 15 spared a grisly death? In North Dakota, we have Eugene Butler's crawl space. Niagara, about 40 miles west of Grand Forks, was founded in 1882 and has never been a big town. In fact, there is less than 100 residents there today. But back in the 1900s, there were at least 6 more people there than anyone even knew about. In 1915, the bodies of 6 people who had been bludgeoned to death were discovered in the crawl space of a house that had once belonged to the reclusive Eugene Butler. He died in 1911, several years after being committed to a mental hospital. And the identities of those 6 people that were found still remain a mystery. In Tennessee, there is the Craig Miles Mausoleum. In 1871, Nina Craig Miles was killed at the age of 7 when the buggy she was riding in was hit by a train. Her family built a mausoleum for her and, of course, future members of the Craig Miles family. And it was built of this beautiful white Italian marble. Shortly after Nina was placed in this mausoleum, red streaks and splotches began to appear on the marble. Efforts to clean the marble failed, and each time a family member's body was placed in the mausoleum, more red stains appeared. There's no scientific explanation for the stains. Some believe they are Nina's tears. In Vermont, there is the Bennington Triangle. The Bennington Triangle refers to an area of Vermont surrounding the Glastonbury Mountain where several people have disappeared without a trace. These include a trail guide who vanished in 1945 while leading a hunting party, college student Paula Jean Weldon, who disappeared the following year from a hiking trail, and James Telford, who seemingly vanished from a bus headed for Bennington. Since the disappearances were clustered in the 1940s, there's been speculation of a serial killer, but others believe paranormal forces were at work. On to our last story, and this one is from Wisconsin, and it is called the Demon Bunk Bed in the Tallman House. So in 1987, the Tallman family had purchased a second-hand bunk bed and brought it home. For the next 9 months, the family was haunted by what appeared to be poltergeists. Clock radios turning on by themselves, a paintbrush that dipped itself in paint, and worse, including the children becoming ill despite no previous health problems, and an unexplained fire. The haunting ceased only when the Tallman family destroyed the bunk bed. That is so crazy. So that was our last short story. I hope you guys enjoyed these. I enjoyed doing them. This was kind of cool. I might do a few more videos down the line, or just kind of sporadically put them in here or there within the year, because I do love talking about these short little mysteries and hauntings and stuff like that. If there is a story that I mentioned that you guys want me to do a little more of a deep dive into, let me know and I'll be glad to do that. I hope you like today's look. I just wanted to do something kind of different and fun. I hope you enjoyed it. It turned out kind of cool. I had an idea in my head and this is what it turned out to be. So I hope you guys like that too. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up and remember to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the little notification bell next to it to be notified of all of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.